Okay, everybody, welcome into the show. We are running out of happy hours in 2023. It's really sad to say that. Week 16 in the NFL. It is Wednesday, December 20th. Brendan Glasheen, Mr. Tim Kalinowski. Hi, Tim. How you doing?
I'm good, Glash. How are you?
Good. I like the turtleneck and the sweater combo. There might be more thoughts during the show about this, but I'm a fan. Want to get that established. And I think you look very festive. So
Th-
I think you're really it's like the Christmas vacation calendar that they flip all the books open. Like you're really building up to the holiday. So I think you're doing a fine job with your attire. So keep
Thank
it up.
you. Thank you. That's so nice of you. What a great way to start this show. I was ready to jump down your throat about something, but nice pleasantries. Great start.
Yeah. So we'll see how people feel about it as the show goes on. We have several guests, the usual suspects that come to the program. Sean Koerner for On the Rocks are monitoring key injuries at wide receiver in the NFL in Week 16, how they may impact the spread, how they impact that team offensively, of course, and how it might impact your fantasy playoffs. It is that time of year. We also have our friend Evan Abrams, the director of research and media at Action Network. We'll do a little game of trivia with him, bar trivia, and then we'll get Raybon and Stuckey before they do the Sunday six pack for a little game of mix in a water. But first, we have to tell you that our friends Bet365 present the show Happy Hour here at Action Network. Happy Hour presented by Bet365. Bet365, folks, does not do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day, they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. They don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. I will never say they're ordinary. 21 plus only or 18 plus in Kentucky, President, Colorado, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, New Jersey, Ohio, and Virginia. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. T's and C's and restrictions apply. Before we welcome in our first guest, Mr. Nick Giffenator, let's dive into who is on notice. I think we both did this last week, and I give ourselves credit. We're not going to Dallas and Miami because that's the ultimate fraud bowl. So we went in a little bit of a different direction. Tim, you can go first. Who's on notice?
The Jacksonville Jaguars for me, Glash, and maybe there could be thrown in the fraud conversation as well. You don't need me to tell you that they've lost three in a row, and you use the word fraud, and it's has the connotation of that you had high expectations at one point, and this Jacksonville team did. I feel like they were a popular dark horse pick to come out of the AFC, possibly win the Super Bowl. We know that they have the quarterback, or at least we think that they have the quarterback. But I'll tell you, franchise legit quarterbacks. I know he's banged up in Trevor Lawrence, and I'm a Clemson guy. Got my paw behind me right here, but they have underperformed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I know again, and I know he's been banged up, but I've said this. I've watched Trevor from college to the pros. This guy loves to put himself in situations to get injured. It seems like, over and over again, it's like you're scratching your head with this guy. Just be safe, please. The fate of this billion-dollar industry, is in your hands. So the Jaguars are on notice for me as they play Tampa Bay this week. Really, really tight spread in that one. And I'll tell you, Jacksonville ends their season with Tampa Bay, Carolina, and Tennessee. You
Wow.
gotta come out of that 3-0 if you're legit.
I got to be honest, the golf cart thing is still bugging me, even though he didn't want the golf cart and then he shows up. I thought it was kind of a troll job by him to show up and the offensive lineman got golf carts. Be honest with you, I'm on location. I'm in Orlando. I'm in the area. Plenty of golf carts. Confirmed. Golf carts in Florida are a thing. That's still going to bother me for the rest of the year. I just find that so offensive. My turn. Speaking of being in the South. And even better, our first guest is going to talk about this division at length. I didn't know that before putting this into our show notes. The NFC South is on notice for me. Do we need to care about you for the last 3 weeks of the season? Now, as in better on individual games, individual weeks, I understand that. That's the purpose of the program. I realize that. But just in totality, I'm sick and tired of this division. This week, you have four teams in the division, of course, that are all either underdogs or favorites by a touchdown or fewer. You've got the Saints on Thursday night, +4 at the Rams. Carolina, +5, home against Green Bay. Falcons laying 1 at home against Indianapolis. Tampa, as you hit on, laying 1 against Jacksonville. 3 of these 4 teams are the unluckiest teams in the NFL, which we'll hear more about in a moment. But and I know Tampa's won 3 in a row, so I should give the Bucs credit. But like head to head, their totals are always in the low 40s, and that's annoying. But I think Baker Mayfield's had a good year, but I find all of you to be so incredibly awful to watch, a waste of my time. One of you is just going to get bounced in the first round by a better team, and the NFC, I think, is down, but it's better with Detroit, Dallas, Philadelphia, San Francisco, of course. I'm just sick of these guys. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of the coaching. I'm sick of the quarterback play. I think it all stinks. I think it stinks, and I've just had quite enough. So here you all are, 4 games, all laying or an underdog by a touchdown or fewer. Give me something here. Give me some entertaining product. Show me that you're building something, Carolina. You beat a crappy Atlanta team last week. Hey, Atlanta, you're laying 1 to Indianapolis. The AFC South has figured it out. Like, Mike Vrabel's done a pretty good job, I think, with Will Levis at quarterback. The Colts with Steichen, he might matter a lot to what's going on right now in Philadelphia. Like the AFC South, CJ Stroud's out again this week. They're overcoming. I haven't seen a lot of overcoming in this division in the NFC South. I'm sick and tired of these guys. So that's a good segue to our Action Network luck rankings. Our analyst grade teams using what's called luck percentage, which is the difference between expected and actual win percentage. Unlucky teams are often undervalued when there's a large luck disparity between them and their opponents. There's the explainer. Here's our guest, Nick Giffen. Nick, we haven't had a lot of change to the Action Network luck rankings, but we have a new number 1 this week. Why don't you dive into who the luckiest teams are in the NFL? And one of them, not number 1, but one of the top luckiest teams is from the NFC South.
That's correct. Well, not at the very top, not in the top 3, but all right, we'll start with them. Number 4 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You throw me off here.
I could have just said that. I apologize.
You throw me off here. But yeah, number 4, Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the lucky NFC South team. But right at the top, we have, like you said, a new number 1. Literally for the first time all year, the state of Pennsylvania does not claim the top spot, either Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. So the new number 1 is the Cincinnati Bengals. And Tim and I, we've been doing bad beats videos most of the year. Cincinnati has ranked in the top half in our weekly luck for 9 straight games that they've played. So in other words, not the bad beats. They're the lucky team. So that is why now they have risen to the top of the luck rankings, and they face this week the number 2 team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Steelers remain in the 2 spot, and they actually did get a little lucky this past week. They lost 30-13, but the expected score was 33-11. So their luck percentage went up from 16.6% to 16.9%, despite getting blown out. So they got a little lucky there. And number 3 in the luck rankings is the Philadelphia Eagles, who did get very unlucky this past weekend, or I should say on Monday Night Football. They lost 20-17, but our expected score pretty much had that flipped against the Seahawks. It had 20-16 for the Philadelphia Eagles. So the state of Pennsylvania, 0-6 the last 3 weeks. Philly lost 3 in a row. Pittsburgh lost 3 in a row. It's almost like luck has regressed to where it should be.
And luck matters. And
matter.
You say this, it doesn't have the same effect as it does early in the year, but you always say that the luck will catch up at this point in the year. Okay, give me the veggies. Give us the suck. Who's at the bottom?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have a little bone to pick with you, Glash. So the bottom 3.
Hear what I said, Nick.
The bottom 3 is the whole NFC
week
South.
to week. I understand the value of this, but this division stinks. Go ahead.
No, you don't even know the bone I'm about to pick with you. So, so the bottom 3. In the number 30 spot is the Atlanta Falcons. They're 6-8. They've been closer to an 8-6 team by expected score, but they played a really easy schedule. So if we schedule just that, they're still slightly below a 500 team. Number 31 is the team that just beat them, the Carolina Panthers. Amazingly enough, by expected score, the Panthers have been more like a 2-12 team, and they have had a couple close losses. A 4-win team and a 2-12 team. So yeah, they've had a couple close losses that have hurt them. They should be like 4-10, which isn't great, instead of 2-12 by expected score. And rounding out the bottom, this is the one I've got a bone to pick with you on, Glash. You said the NFC South, whoever makes the playoffs is going to lose. I think the Saints, if they make the playoffs, could pull off a first round, wild card round surprise and win a game here. The Saints, they've played more like a 9-5 team by expected score. Now, even if we don't use expected score, even if we just use their points for and points against and do some Pythagorean expectation on that, they're more like a 60% win team. But, using expectation, they're actually more like a 66% win team. Now, again, they've also played a really easy schedule. So schedule adjusting that, they go back down below the 60% mark, but they're at 58%. They are the strongest team in the NFC South. And by our schedule adjusted Pythagorean expectation on expected score, they're pretty much the same strength as the Eagles.
Nick, I'll tell you, take the Saints monster win over New England and throw that data point out. That New England team, they deserved everything they got.
That New England team should have beaten the Eagles. Remember that.
That is true. That was a very long time ago. To think about, Glash, how much hope it seemed that we had back in week 1 in that slop fest game against the Eagles. Pretty bizarre to think about. But Nick, so Glash, you done with getting your bones picked at?
Yeah, no, I understand, and Nick brings value to the show. I have a hard time with expected stuff when it's December 20th.
But
it's like
we already saw all the expected stuff regress. It's going to continue to regress, in this case, upward for the Saints. That stuff regresses. You're just going off, this is what's happened. This is what's happened. Not
what
this is what we expect in the long run.
But that's our wheelhouse. And then you come on and tell us why we're not smart.
Exactly.
We don't get it.
Yeah. But see, we saw the same thing earlier with the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, this is just who they are. They're great. They win games.
Yeah,
0-6.
It works both ways, Glass.
I understand the value as it pertains to betting a team week to week. That's why I think later on we're going to talk more about the Saints team and why they might be the right side this week. I understand that.
There you go.
I get that. But just, you kind of are what you are at some point. But anyway,
okay. The Steelers and the Eagles, who are who they were, and now they're not.
All right. I'm putting the kibosh on it. This could be happy hours if we keep this going. I don't try and go against Nick anymore. If you can't beat him, join him. Glash.
Hey, when you go to happy hour with the same people for 16 weeks, you're bound to butt heads every once in a while.
Exactly,
so let's be fair.
Exactly.
In week 4, we're all happy, nice. Oh, good to hang out with you. Good to see you. How you been? Well, now it's been 16 weeks, and I know what your spiel is, and you know what my spiel is. So that's part of the camaraderie and why we all come together here. So keep going.
Yeah, it is true. The math, I've just surrendered to it at this point. Nick's a smart guy. So unless
I agree.
Unless you're gonna beat Glash, kick his teeth in any longer, we can move to our luck overs and luck over and luck matchup.
Plus, the Saints will probably have home field because the only way they make the playoffs is they win the division. So
they're going to be like the Marshawn Lynch. Factor. They're going to be like the Marshawn Lynch Seahawks way back when they beat the Saints.
Anyway, let's go to that luck over. We got to move along here.
Yeah, back to your corners, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. But no, so we did mention number 1 and number 2 in the luck rankings are playing each other, the Steelers and Bengals. That game is a luck over. So this game has a luck total of plus 5.01, which is 0.01 above our 5 or more threshold for a luck total to be a luck over after week 11. And luck overs after week 11 are 35, 18, and 1. That's 65.7% to the over, including 5-1 this year. So if you've been tailing the luck overs this year, been doing great. However, the one loss, I should say, of the 5-1 was when these two teams played each other in week 12. That was a luck over, and it went under. But now we've got a quarterback change. We got, Mason Rudolph, who I almost said Kyle Rudolph, Mason Rudolph, who's going to be dishing out touchdown presents to his teammates here in this luck over. But this total has dropped from 40 on Sunday down to 37 now. 85% of the money's on the under. So if this pushes below that key number of 37, if it's 36.5, I'm taking it. So I'm not waiting until kickoff. Maybe it goes down to 36 or 35.5. That would be crazy. But if it hits 36.5, I'm taking it because 37 is a key enough number. And we've seen the luck overs trend work out really well.
And the luck overs, you can't lie. The numbers don't lie, but it's a game that usually smells. It's usually hard to look at, and probably why value ends up being there, Nick. All right. How about the Falcons and the Colts? The Falcons new back and forth quarterback. I will say, Nick, I'm getting sick of talking about the Falcons being unlucky. It is just their quarterback situation. Yeah, I'm sorry. The turnovers like within the 5-yard line or so are getting hard.
That Tampa game. Oh my gosh.
My gosh. Maybe the quarterback change is what they need to alleviate that. But yeah, this one is a luck game. This is the Falcons being the unlucky team, of course, with a luck difference of 24 and a luck gap of 24.6%. So it doesn't quite meet that 30% threshold, which has some monster splits. Instead, it just meets the 24 or more difference. So unlucky teams in games with a luck difference of at least 24 are 56, 37, and 4, which is 60% against the spread over the last 6 years. However, if that team is a home team, it's just 28, 24, and 2, which is only 53.7%. It's basically like 1% edge versus a minus 110 line. So not really a strong trend there if the team is a home team, which of course Atlanta is this week. The Colts are coming off that big win versus Pittsburgh, though, and Atlanta is coming off a loss to Carolina. So public perception, recency-wise, could be skewed against Atlanta and for the Colts here, which may be pushing potentially this line far enough in the Colts' direction that it becomes bettable, but I'm not quite so sure. This line opened with Atlanta as an underdog, I think it was on Sunday, and now Atlanta's the favorite. There's some negative trends there if you bet on a team that crosses from an underdog to a favorite and you bet them when they're a favorite. So I don't love, because Atlanta's at home and now they've crossed over to being a favorite, I don't love backing Atlanta here. Taylor Heineke announcement, maybe that changes things. But if Atlanta goes back to being an underdog, I could get behind taking them in this one.
Would you play just Atlanta on the money line, or would you obviously want a better price?
No, I'd want a better price. So, yeah, these trends are against the spread, and I like making my spread bets, especially if Atlanta somehow crosses back over to being an even money or an underdog.
And to be clear, you prefer Heineke?
It's tough for me. Sean may have a better opinion on that, but Atlanta's been really good at moving the ball. They've just, as Tim alluded to, struggled in the red zone mightily. Turnovers, settling for field goals, fourth down failed conversions. So that's why they're so unlucky. They can move the ball. They just haven't been able to finish out the possessions. I don't necessarily think I prefer Heineke. I think it's close to a wash, which is why I still want to get Atlanta back to being an underdog here. Okay,
very good. Couple more from you, Nick. Luck unders that meet the criteria.
Yeah, we've got 2 luck unders that are below minus 7.5, which can throw a reverse signal and go towards the over. However, the 2 we had last week did stay under. But the first one is Washington versus New York Jets. It says a luck total of minus 8.8. And I don't mind the under here. The Jets defense is good enough that they can slow down this Commanders offense, which, while they do throw a lot, they also turn the ball over a lot. And so I think the Jets can make it difficult on the Commanders. And the Jets offense is so bad that, the Commanders defense, which is also so bad, may actually have a chance at just, holding them to fewer points here. Miami, New York Jets went under last week, under the total. And they went under the expected score total. Wow. So even though it was 30-0, the expected score was only 26-0 for Miami. Yes, the Jets' expected score was a bagel, 0. That's how bad they were against Miami. Now, I do think this is a spot we could look at taking the under, but again, we always want to be sensitive, price sensitive on the totals. And then the last one we have, I'm kind of staying away from this one. It does involve Miami. That's the Miami-Dallas game. This has a luck total of minus 9.8. But I think this is the one that falls more into reverse signal territory. We got two high-powered offenses that are going to be tough to stop. We could see a total shootout here between Dak Prescott, Tua Tagovailoa. It's going to be a potentially a high-powered offensive shootout. So this is one where the luck total of minus 9.8 may fall into that reverse signal territory.
Okay. Yeah, Nick, just to say, I find it interesting that we talked about this reverse signal where, it's outside of the sweet spot. I think it was 7 and 5 for the luck total. So it must feel difficult for you to say, you know what, I'm gonna go reverse, especially on that Jets Commanders game.
Yeah, it is hard to go reverse on the reverse, but it's still like when I give the luck unders trend for the whole year, these games still fall into that luck under. It just so happens that really late in the season, there tends to be that reverse signal, but not, some of those games still go under. So you just kind of need to evaluate each game on its own merits, whether you think it's a real luck under or reverse luck under at this point with these super negative luck totals.
I would imagine too for the Miami-Dallas game, you got to keep an eye on Tyreek, got to keep an eye on Waddle. I think Waddle's fine. He'll play. And I think Tyreek probably does too, but Tyreek Hill, I think the reporting is he will not practice. He did not practice today and status remains uncertain. That's a big deal, right? As it pertains to an under.
Definitely. Tyreek with his explosive playability would very much affect the total.
Fair enough. Okay. Nick's talking, we talk luck overs, luck unders, and then we had another element here, real luck. Is this real luck? So that's it might be too much luck for me to comprehend. That's a lot, but you do do a good job, and I will say you're a good sport letting us beat on you a little bit here because the scoreboard says usually we're wrong.
Well, I would like to take credit because I think when we go back and forth like this, it gets more out of Nick and it reveals more about his data model. So. You're welcome.
Yeah, when you guys give me the hard time, we get really awesome things like you two looking like clowns and that kind of stuff. So
he's never going to let that go.
I would make, since we're betting company, entertainment company, I'd make a Bet 365 side bet with you on the Saints if they make the playoffs, winning their first round game.
Oh, winning outright. Oh, okay.
Winning their first round game, the wild card round.
Nick probably has a dartboard with Tim and I's heads. Probably mine's bigger, and he just throws darts at it when he gets off his segment.
That's right.
Nick Giffen, you have a wonderful holiday season.
You guys as well.
We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for the time.
Absolutely. See you guys.
Okay.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. And we're about to bring on Sean Koerner here. But first, I want to let you know if you want to hang out with Nick and Sean Koerner, we're about to talk to, we're having a 2-day event in Hoboken, New Jersey for Wild Card Weekend at the Shepherd and the Knucklehead. RSVP with the link. The link will be in our YouTube description for you to RSVP. RSVP gets you free entry and drinks. Yeah, Stuckey will be there, so that always helps things. We'll sweat out some bets on Saturday, and then the favorites will be doing their podcast live after the games wrap up on Sunday. So with that said, I already teased it. We got to bring Sean Koerner in, talk about some notable injury news. Let's take 3 wide receivers. Chris Olave sounds like he's going to play. Jamar Chase sounds like he's going to be out. And in the middle there is Michael Pittman, who is legit questionable, as Koerner mentioned in our little pre-show meeting here. All right, Koerner, let's bring you in. Fantasy playoffs. Apologize if this is a sour subject for some of the people watching here. But this is how it is. These things matter, and these receivers mean something to the point spread as well. So I'll let you kick it off here with Chris Olave of the New Orleans Saints, a team that has already been talked about quite a lot in the early goings of this show.
So this one definitely isn't sour news because, like you said, he's expected to play. So if you have Chris Olave, fire him up as a top 25 wide receiver. He does carry some, risk of an in-game setback. It is an ankle injury. Sometimes those can be tricky, but it sounds like he's good to go. And this is a pretty good matchup. The Rams have allowed the 3rd most yards per game on pass attempts, 15 plus yards downfield. Opposing teams love to pick on cornerback Darion Kendrick of the Rams, and I would expect them to do that here with Chris Olave. I mean, he's a very talented downfield receiver, so this is a good spot for him. Olave's status didn't matter when it comes to Derek Carr. You're probably not playing him anyway. I know he had a good game last week, but if you're starting Derek Carr and one quarterback leaves in the playoffs, you have bigger issues.
How did you get
Olave,
here is the question. How did you
yeah,
how did you
exactly.
get this deep? Yeah.
No, I have him in a dynasty league where, there's no one available and you start two quarterbacks. That's different. But in a league where you're starting one quarterback, do not play him no matter what. If something were to happen to Olave, like he has an in-game setback or something like that, Rashid Shaheed would be in play as a wide receiver 3. He's similar to Olave where he's a good downfield threat. So I think he could take advantage of this matchup. But as of now, it sounds like Olave is good to go. So he should be a top 20, top 25 option tomorrow night.
Okay, what about Pittman? Because this is the legit questionable candidate for this week. I really like that. I wish the league would adopt that terminology, and I would let you coin that phrase. But where are you at with Pittman and what he means to the Colts? As Giffen highlighted before earlier in the show, he likes Atlanta, but that would not help Nick Giffen in the sense that if Pittman's a go, you might not be getting that Atlanta underdog price.
Right. Yeah. So, ever since the NFL got rid of probable, everyone's questionable. Sometimes it can be probable. He's, like I said, legit questionable. And he's worth, 1 to 1.5 points against the spread and the total. And the Colts are dealing with injuries at running back. Both Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss are legit questionable too. So this whole team is a mess to project right now. If Pittman is able to suit up, I mean, he's going to be a top 10 option. If you have him, you're playing him. And it'd be a boost for Gardner Minshew. Minshew, similar to Derek Carr, doesn't really matter Pittman's status. You shouldn't be playing him anyway. But, if Pittman is held out, Josh Downs should be startable in the fantasy playoffs. He's going to be a top 30 option at wide receiver. So a high-end wide receiver 3, even more valuable in PPR formats. I think his reception prop would be around 4.5. So I think he's going to be a very safe option. Doesn't have as much touchdown upside, but with Pittman out, that's 13 targets
right
for grabs. So, Josh Downs would be a guy that I would say is now a must start in fantasy if Pittman is ruled out.
And just regarding Pittman there, saying that he's worth, a point to a point and a half against the spread and to the total. Is that a recent development? Because I think, I didn't put Pittman in that class from my eyeball test, but, I'll defer to you, obviously.
Yeah, so when it comes to, value against the spread, it's not so much how you'd rank him across all the other receivers in the league, it's how important he is to the team. So he sees such a massive target share and he commands so much attention from the defense. He does open up for other players. Josh Downs is great, he's a talented rookie, but he does benefit from Pittman attracting coverage weight. They have like 37 tight ends. They're all like below average. So not many people can step up in his absence. So for Pittman, he is really a talented receiver, but it's the drop off between him and everybody else is why he's, so valuable against the spread.
This is from the Colts about an hour ago. Today's walkthrough. They didn't practice. They had a walkthrough. Michael Pittman was listed as a limited participant. So there you go.
Legit limited participant.
Legit.
Yeah. on a walkthrough. Whether it was a legit walkthrough becomes a question too.
Right.
Ooh.
Legit practice. Who knows? But thank you for clearing that up about Pittman. I think that's a good point. I definitely missed that. It's not necessarily where you would rank your wide receivers. It's about the drop off and relativity to their team. How about a guy that unquestionably has some worth to this point spread? Jamar Chase, Cincinnati Bengals. They're currently laying 2 at Pittsburgh here. Tell me about Jamar Chase.
Yeah, so Chase is probably worth around 1.5 to 2 points against the spread. Clearly more valuable than Pittman, but unlike Pittman, Chase has very talented receivers surrounding him. So, T. Higgins is one of the top receivers in the league. Tyler Boyd, not so much this year, but still 2 receivers that are more than capable to step up. With Chase, expected to miss this game. That when it comes to fantasy, there is a ripple effect here. I think Jake Browning, who only Brock Purdy has more fantasy points over the last 3 weeks than Jake Browning. I think we might have to sit him this week because without Chase, that's one less weapon to throw to. Browning's been leaning a ton on his pass catchers getting a lot of yards after the catch, and Chase has been averaging 35 yards after the catch per game with Browning under center. So that's going to be a huge loss. And if you remember, Browning's first start was against this very Steelers defense, and he struggled. So I have him closer to like QB 19 this week. So I know he's probably won you that, the last 3 weeks single-handedly, but I would lean towards sitting him. If you want to be ride or die and throw him out there, go for it. But I have him a little bit lower in my rankings this week as a result. And T. Higgins becomes a much safer wide receiver 3 option. I think they're going to target him even more here. And Tyler Boyd gets a boost here, but still he hasn't been good enough to really throw out there as a wide receiver 3. So I'm probably only playing him in deeper leagues. But the one guy that I think is going to be sneaky here is tight end Tanner Hudson, who has been a beast with Jake Browning under center. I mean, Browning has targeted him 32% of the time he's out there running a route. The only thing is he hasn't been getting much playing time. So we saw after Chase went down last week, his playing time saw an increase. He almost ran her out on 50% of Browning's dropback. So he might be the one that actually gets the biggest boost in terms of playing time and even target rate, if that's even possible. So Tanner Hudson could end up catching 5-6 balls here, and he's in play as like a sneaky tight end streamer this week for somebody that's hurting at that position.
Oh, what a surprise. Wow. I got Dalton Kincaid questionable. I just looked it up. Hudson's available. I mean, I know no one cares about my team, but what a blessing that I get to do this show and get that little nugget to me. I hope none of my friends are watching, but it'd be good.
Yeah, you better add him right now.
Exactly.
Go away. Go at him.
I will. Yeah, Glash, I gotta go out. You cook.
Okay, Koerner. Speaking of questionable, legit questionable, or out, are you attending that favorites event in January? Are you going to be there?
I am legit probable. I am likely.
Oh,
yes.
It's a pretty big event that they did a few weeks ago. So you better, they have a high bar that they set from that last one.
I will be there. Are you going to be there?
I don't know. I am legit questionable.
Oh, you're legit questionable. Okay.
Yeah.
I am legit upgraded to in. I'm in. I booked my trip today. Yeah, so I'm in.
Cool. That's it. Koerner, have a great Christmas, great holiday season, and we will talk to you again next week, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Thanks, you too.
Questionably. Alrighty, happy hour continues. We work our way to what is likely the game of the year at this stage. The two favorites in each conference, Baltimore and San Francisco. San Fran now at -5.5 at Bet365. Opening line was San Fran -4. We welcome in our friend, the Bar Trivia host, weekly here on Happy Hour. His name is Evan Abrams, the Director of Research and Media at Action Network. Evan, I got to tell you, haven't said this to Tim yet. I am down in Florida, where the Happy Hour does start a little bit earlier. So I am feeling in the Happy Hour spirit even more so than usual. So I look forward to this week's trivia question. I feel trivia ready with the palm trees and the sunshine, even though it doesn't present itself right now.
It looks great. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's o'clock somewhere. That's what they say in Florida. So
I wanted to do the show outside, but right now, a little chilly, a little cloudy. But anyway, no one cares. What's this week's trivia question before we get to some bar trends?
All right. Well, 7 standalone games this week. I don't think we've ever seen that before. So enjoy the week. It's going to be amazing. But probably game of the week, like you said, Niners, Ravens. So trivia there. Lamar, 11-2 against the spread as an underdog in his career, regular and post. I'm asking you and the chat, who are the 2 quarterbacks he didn't cover against as an underdog? Yes, it's not one man. It is 2 different quarterbacks that he didn't cover against while as an underdog for Lamar. That is the question. So we will get back to that with a trend at the end. But
answer in the chat, everybody. Answer in the chat. Yeah. Fire away.
All right, let's just keep rolling here while you guys think about that. So Let's talk about the betting markets and go into Thursday night football. Oh my. So it seems to be that nobody wants to bet on the Saints because right now the Rams ticket percentage at home on Thursday night football is tremendous. You can see the updated number below me on the screen, but for reference, 82% is the record for any team this season. It was done 3 times, and 92%, that is the benchmark for night games in the last 20 years and for any game in the last 20 years. So 92% what you're looking for, 82% this year. But right now, as you can see below, oh boy, the Rams. Anything, guys?
That's
Thoughts?
not good news. Yeah, I'm on the Rams.
Okay.
Listen, I'm not a believer in the New Orleans Saints. We have Raybon coming up after, and I have to give him a piece of my mind about that because he is the one that has kind of brainwashed me into thinking that the Saints are no good. He's tried to fade them the last 2 weeks. It hasn't worked out. So I thought I was getting ahead of everything.
Sure.
Raybon's a sharp guy. So I was trying to be like, okay, is Raybon going to go back to the well? If he doesn't, I'm not scared. I'll do it. And now that you tell me about this whole money situation, I don't love it because I started to work at Action Network younger in my career because I thought it was a good thing to fade the public, all the tools, the
Yeah, but
Action
here's
app,
the thing, Tim. This year the public's been winning, so maybe it's a good
Right.
thing.
Right.
Maybe the Rams roll, so maybe it's all right. Let's keep going though, and now let's give you a reason not to take the Rams again. So Thursday night home teams are just 32 and 36 straight up, 26 and 42 against the spread since 2020. Now that's 23 and 37 in Thursday night games as well. That is the worst of any day of week compared to that Thursday. So short rest, bit tough on those home teams. Now let's just look overall, right? Home teams on Thursday night since 2020, 30 and 30 straight up. All other nights, 99 and 68. So that's 59%. It's just a very different game when you're talking about short rest and home teams and basically getting that full week. So interesting nuggets that just keep to roll on. Seems that these been working year in and year out.
Night if you bet the Rams. I think that's what you might be getting at there. I would be curious. I'm putting you on the spot, but
Yeah.
so I know the Rams are not the Chargers. Okay, I think they do have a fan base, but when
Fair.
it's Chargers or Rams, and I think the Saints have a pretty good fan base. I would imagine they travel for a game like this right before the holiday. Get in,
Yeah.
get out. I'm curious as to what those LA teams are like in these kinds.
Yeah,
of
I mean,
spots
I'd have to
too.
look specifically at them. One thing, so I've looked at field surfaces, like we start to dig a little bit deeper when we get this time of year just because we have so much more data. But it is interesting to consider like capacity or things of that nature when we're dealing with. So I'll get back to you.
I want to throw in.
Go ahead, Tim, go to you.
Real quick. I
Yeah.
think because the LA teams historically don't have a strong home field advantage, that we could
Sure.
almost qualify the Rams as a possible away team here, which would make me, if we flip flop the record, like they're not actually they're not a true home team. So, maybe that's better for a little reverse brain engineering there of why Rams are actually a great pick. But
As much as Saints fans love Derek Carr this year, I wonder if they'll travel across the country for him. Okay, Cowboys, Dolphins. Let's go to actually the real best games this weekend. So that is the first game between two teams with 20 plus combined wins, but just one or fewer wins versus above 500 teams. We would call this the Fraud Bowl. So I'll give you two stats. Dak Prescott, 6 and 13 straight up in his career on the road versus over 500 teams. Since he was drafted, he is 114th of 116 quarterbacks. Yikes. Now for the Dolphins side, since 2021, 4 and 11 straight up versus teams above 500. The Dolphins have beaten a team with a winning record since they beat the Bills in week 3 of last season. They are the only team in the NFL without a win above it versus a team above 500 in that span. 0-7. So right now, something's got to break. Somebody's got to win the game. You can find, angles for both sides, but can't wait for this weekend, guys.
But notice what you did there. You referenced Dak specifically and not Tua because Tua's health at this time of year has always been in question.
It's Miami.
Since
It's the team as a trend. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Spider-Man meme bowl. They just
Yep.
Same thing. You a fraud? You a fraud? Yeah, pretty
And
much.
the best thing about it is you've got that fraud game, and then you've got the Ravens-Niners game, which is kind of turned into the two teams people actually believe in. So Lamar, in his career, 80 total starts, has only been an underdog of 5.5 points once prior to this week. Now that is the Chiefs and Mahomes back in 2018. He was an underdog of 4.5 also against Mahomes in 2019. So this would be his second largest start as an underdog. And we mentioned before, he is 11-2 in those games against the spread. Now, boys, let's get back to the dirt, the question. What do you got? Let's get some questions in there, some answers. What do you have? Who are the quarterbacks? Who are the two people?
Flash?
Okay, so again, These aren't final answers. This is Tim and I. Evan, pretend you're not listening and pretend these are not being
Here, have a
written pen to
conversation
paper.
first. I'm good with it.
So we discussed when we read the question before we got started on the show. I think Joe Burrow is going to be one of these guys. I would think. I would think, Tim, it's a quarterback in the division. Cincinnati has always given Baltimore trouble, home or away. There's probably some spots where Jackson, as a dog at Cincinnati, +3, +3.5, whatever it may be, Ravens could win. The Bengals would win, and the Ravens wouldn't get there as a covering underdog. So I would imagine Burrow's one of these guys.
And I would add on to this, it's hard to find games where Lamar, thinking back, would be a dog. So I have 3 quarterbacks off the top of my head that I think would be favorites.
He's been a dog against 9 quarterbacks in total.
Okay, so there you go.
It's 9 guys.
All right, so I would have 3 here that I would narrow it down to, Glash. That would be Patrick Mahomes. That would be Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. So I believe it could be 2 of those 3. If you want to eliminate one, Glash, of that 3, by all means, and then we'll spit out our answer.
This is riveting.
So Burrow's 1.
Yep. And so pick either Allen or Mahomes.
I'll pick, knowing the stats on Mahomes inside, it's probably a field goal-ish, and it's probably at Arrowhead. I'll go Mahomes. Mahomes and Burrow.
All right.
Mahomes
so
and Burrow.
The answer is Mahomes. So he's 2-1 against Mahomes. So he has one of those losses.
Okay.
The second one, he's 1-0 against Burrow. So he's only faced Burrow once as an underdog, and he beat him, and he covered. So it's not Burrow, it's Josh Allen. Josh Allen, 1-1 against Josh Allen. Just to spit it out, the other quarterbacks he's been a dog against. He's 2-0 against Brady, 1-0 against Matt Ryan, 1-0 against Teddy Bridgewater, 1-0 against Russ, 1-0 against Phil Rivers, Baker Mayfield, 1-0 against Joe Burrow, and here we are, Josh Allen.
How about that, Glash?
Wow.
Nice job. That's a Tim win and a Glash. We're gonna figure it out next week.
Push.
Yeah. But that's a Tim win. When I heard those 3 on that list, and that was how he put that together, that's a well done. That's a clap.
That was sharp. That was sharp.
Only a dog against Burrow once, and he's 1-0.
My gut is they haven't faced each other a ton. Injuries. My guess is they haven't actually been together on the same field.
Well, and now that you say it, there have been circumstances where Lamar's been hurt too against the Bengals. Right. Okay. Very good. He is Evan Abrams, our Director of Research and Media. You have a Merry Christmas, Evan. Thanks for stopping by Happy Hour.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Enjoy the holidays. Later.
Thanks, Ev.
Not sure how I feel about that, giving Tim a full win and just totally debunking that I was set up to answer the question first. Anywho, Happy Hour is presented by our friends at Bet365. Bet365, folks, doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day, they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. And they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only, 18 plus in Kentucky, present in Colorado, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, New Jersey, Ohio, and Virginia. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. T's and C's and restrictions apply.
Just a reminder that the Sunday Six-Pack immediately follows us here on Action Network's YouTube page. That's Stuckey and Raybon. They're talking NFL Week 16 best bets. And think of NFL Week 16, I'm like, it seems like this week is 5 days of games. It might be the Six-Pack could be every single day because we are jam-packed with football. And we're also lucky enough that we get to talk to these guys beforehand for a little teaser before they go out and do their own thing. So we're happy to welcome in Stuckey and Raybon and ask them who needs to mix in a water. This has become, one of my favorite weekly traditions, to be honest, because we've found some diamonds in the rough in terms of, that Bills ticket a couple of weeks ago. And now we get to decide if we're going to fade the Bills this week, possibly. They're playing the LA Chargers. It's really the same thing. Daddy-O proposes Bolts money line, new coach bump, stick truck sticks the Bills and shocks the world. Oh, I get it. Easton stick here. Anyway, Stuckey, I saw you log in the Action app, the Bolts plus 14. Would that be enough to also tempt you on the money line, or does Daddy-O here need to mix in a water?
Yeah, I mean, I can. No, he doesn't need to. I can see it. I'm actually scared of this game. All of my like big better Bills fan friends are also scared of this game. And I knew once the Chargers lost, they gave up 60 plus, lost by 40 to the Broncos. I said, man, I hope they don't fire Staley. Because if they do, and the Bills beat the Cowboys, which I think they do, I'm going to have to bet Easton Stick this week. But it is, I mean, you want to talk about a spot of all spots. I mean, number one, Chargers on extended rest, Bills short week after 3 huge games against the Chiefs, Eagles, and Cowboys. Extended rest, short week, going across the country means more, too, later in the year. Chargers interim coach bump. Historically, teams performed a little bit better the week after firing their coach. And I think it's even more of a bump this year because I think they quit on Staley, and that was pretty apparent in that game. You also have you also get like the element of surprise, right? You'll have a new interim coach. You'll hear from other assistants, other players. They'll say, "Hey, let's do this. This isn't working. Let's change this." And that's not on film for the Bills, who have a short week and are going across the country. And teams are just look. It's a double-digit home underdog in the NFL for what it's worth, 73-53 against the spread over the past 20 years. But teams that get embarrassed in the NFL are usually very good bets, and teams are never as bad as they looked the week before. To put some numbers to that, teams that lost by 35 plus the previous week, 75, 44, and 6 against the spread past 2 decades, 63%. When underdogs, after losing by 35 plus, 58, 29, and 5 against the spread, 67%. When catching more than 10 points after losing by 35 or more, 17 and 3 against the spread. Those are bad teams, right? Double-digit underdogs after losing by 35 plus. No one wants to bet them. Usually, those are good bets. 85% against the spread, covering by 10 points per game. A lot of outright upsets in there, believe it or not. 16 and 1 against the spread after September. And then teams after allowing 50 or more points in a loss, 65% against the spread over the past 30 years. We saw that with the Broncos. Broncos covered the week after giving up 70 to the Dolphins. So you should get the Chargers' best effort here. These are still professionals. They got completely embarrassed. This is now their Super Bowl. Can knock the Bills out. I'm not going to wax poetic about this Chargers roster or Easton Stick, but it's just a phenomenal spot.
And you are the same person who, it's tweeted, and I've seen it come up over the years, that when everyone says a team is dead, that's the time you start betting on them. And I think,
the Bills too, on our little teaser for our podcast. I bet the Bills last week against the Cowboys. I've just been in tune with them. I'm 10-0 betting the Bills this year on our show on Bills sides. I was betting them early in the year. They had the defensive injuries. I jumped off, and then everyone after, I jumped off and faded them for about 5 straight weeks. Everyone then started to say, Bills are done. Josh Allen is done. I'm sitting here saying, like, this is ridiculous. The Bills also, got Rasul Douglas, made some schematic changes. I jumped back on the past 3 weeks. Now everyone is, Bills are the team no one wants to play. A month ago, the whole narrative was they're done. Josh Allen has cooked too many turnovers. Now the Bills are everyone's favorite sleeper to win the Super Bowl. Now it's the time that they're a little overvalued. Double digit. You're asking them to win by more than 2 touchdowns. Like, now that it's come down a bit, 2 touchdowns more. That's not easy to do in the NFL. Horrible spot. Give me the Chargers.
Raybon, you still with us here? I mean, it's hard to make a case against that there. Stuckey emptying the clip. Do we concur?
I mean, first, I got a question. Because your sweater is hideous. So I'm just curious.
I disagree. It's a nice sweater.
Is this like an ugly sweater thing where I should give you credit for wearing one of the ugliest sweaters I've ever seen? Or were you actually trying to style and I should chide you for wearing this ugly ass sweater?
I was not trying to style. I'm just trying to mix it up a little bit. We do this remotely. I'm sitting here in my room alone. You have to kind of bring your own energy here. That's
ugly sweater in honor of an ugly bet on the Chargers.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, then we mix it in the water for that sweater, but I'm gonna say mix in the water for the Bolts money line, only because Stuckey made a lot of great points, but all the information and the stats he gave were about these teams covering. It's a 14, what is it, 12-point spread. I think the Chargers could cover. Do I think they win this game? No. So mix and water.
No, I don't think they win either, but I just have it's my gut says that this game will just be you'll know in the first quarter too. Like you'll know right away if the Chargers have rallied and care. But I just have a weird feeling this game will just be close in the fourth quarter.
Well, we talked to Evan earlier, and he constantly brings up too the week after the coach gets fired part of it too, and that's what Stuckey's whole setup was, right? So let's go to this next one from our guy. Hey, Paulie, Mason Rudolph +2 Christmas week. Tomlin rah spot, not blah blah. That's DeBundo's tagline of blah blah. The rah Tomlin spot. Mason Rudolph Saturday +2 at home against Cincinnati. I heard you snark, Stuckey. Does Paulie have to mix in a water?
No, we got a lot of sober participants here on Christmas week. Was that Rudolph was that like a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer reference for Christmas week?
Has to be, yeah.
Rudolph.
Yeah.
Seen a lot of that.
But this is look, I don't know how much Tomlin could be gone at the end of the year. I don't know. One final rah spot in Pittsburgh. I mean, look, if you look since 2019, there's been 99 quarterbacks who have had at least 100 dropbacks. Mason Rudolph is like, I think 48th, 49th in adjusted EPA per play. You know, Trubisky's like 47th, Pickett is 55th. Like, there's not much of a difference between these quarterbacks. And Trubisky has lost the plot. He just Bortles. He was playing so poorly that it only can get better with Rudolph. So and this is a spot. Jake Browning's played well, but he's gotten away with it. I mean, he got to face, some poor secondaries with injuries, and then he's gotten away with some pretty risky balls. And now no Jamar Chase, and more importantly for this Bengals defense that's been bad all season, no DJ Reader. That's massive in the middle. He's irreplaceable, and the drop off. It's kind of like what happened to the Bills after they lost Daquan Jones, who's playing so well. They just don't have anyone else who's really going to step up in the middle. So what does that mean? That means that Rudolph and the Steelers can rely on the run game here. I like the Steelers at home, so no need to mix in a water.
Paulie strikes me, Raybon, as someone who's into the rah element, referencing The Sopranos there, based on his tone. Oftentimes, does Paulie need to mix in a water, or are you in agreement with Stuckey?
Nah, man, no mixing of water here. And in honor of Tim's sweater, I think it's so versatile because you can use it as a regular outfit or an ugly sweater. It's the same thing with this Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer thing. If you back in the Steelers, like I'm gonna do, you could throw on the red nose, and if the Steelers get trounced again, like they've been doing, you could it doubles as a clown nose. So versatility. But no mixing of water. This is a spot for the Steelers to just ruin shit in the NFC.
It's also there's just it's a law, like there's the laws of science. It's like the sixth law of thermodynamics. That Tomlin has to not finish under 500. So this is the game that he'll need to do that.
Tim, can you turn that sweater inside out? Does it have that capability?
Funny enough, it's like an Under Armour. It's dry fit, so it's supposed to be. Of
course,
that's
it is.
That's kind of thing. It's like a athletic.
So you can wear it to hockey practice.
Is that a separate turtleneck under it, or is that part of the sweater?
No, separate turtleneck, separate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, layer up here. I'm chilly. I'm fighting something, to be honest. It's that time of the year, and I got to give Stuckey too a lot of credit. He brought his fastball today. This guy, I mean, for the
very chipper Stuckey today.
Yeah.
By the way, do you want to hear my prediction? Continue my fastball. My prediction is Steelers beat the Bengals, lose at the Seahawks. Ravens have the 1 seed locked up. Rest everybody. Week 18. Steelers beat the Ravens in Baltimore, and Steelers finish 9-8. Tomlin keeps the streak alive and then gets fired.
The standard is the standard.
That wouldn't you don't think, well, if that's the case and that's how it plays out, could that get them in? They'd be right there,
probably
right? That could get them in.
They probably wouldn't get in the playoffs, but I'll tell you right now, if the Steelers win,
they'd be 2-0 against Baltimore.
Yeah, but that wouldn't matter. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, they're
right,
not.
right.
It's not for the division.
Still impressive.
Wild card.
Yeah.
If the Steelers win this week, lose at the Seahawks, win week 3, they have a 14% chance to make the playoffs.
All right.
So if they got in the playoffs, they would keep them, but the chance started, it would not. They have to pretty much win out.
Stuckey is, he gives us, laws of science here. For a guy that is, the mayor, the prime minister of Degenerate Nation, he's well educated. You notice he uses proper grammar. He says they've been playing poorly. They got off to a poor start. He doesn't say bad. Everything makes sense with this guy. He's firing on all cylinders. Raybon, for you.
Although I should have said fifth law. I think there's only 4 laws of thermodynamics, so I shouldn't.
No one's going to ask any questions about that. I think I'll take your word for it. Okay, here, the bull market, Giants money line. Eagles are cooked. The Eagles have lost 3 in a row. Raybon, you were on the Giants last week, so I want to give you a little bit of a hard time about this and let you go first. Are you done with the Giants? No more, mixing a water here, because the Eagles, like we talk about overreacting here. It works on both ways. The Eagles can't be cooked here, right? They're not done. What say you, Raybon?
Yeah, this is mixing the water. The Giants are going to get destroyed by the Eagles. I mean, listen, we've been looking at the Eagles as one of the luckiest teams in the NFL for the last 2 months now, and it finally, came home to roost. They started playing quality teams, and not just quality teams, but desperate teams. Because that Seahawks team, I would call that more of a desperate team. They're pretty mediocre, all things considered. But now you have this Giant team that, losing to the Saints, the fraudulent Saints last week is that pretty much is, they had like a minuscule chance to get to the playoffs. I guess they're not mathematically eliminated yet, but they should be. So yeah, I could just see the bottom's coming out. I mean, Tommy DeVito's fee is coming back down. It went up to 20K, and then they lose to the Saints, and then he does the appearance for free. So from 10K to 20K to 0. So this Eagle team, to me, it's just a get right spot for the Eagles. It's just the wrong time for a Giant team that probably is a little bit peskier and feistier than they were with Daniel Jones and no Andrew Thomas earlier this year. But if there was ever a get right spot for the Eagles, it's against a divisional opponent that they've been destroying. They destroyed them last year. I don't see many avenues here for the Giants to win.
And the Eagles are still the 3rd luckiest team for our Action Network luck rankings entering week 16.
Yeah, take your little bit of this and use it to mix in your water. Stuckey, mix in a water, Giants money line.
Yeah, got to mix in the water here. The Eagles, this is not the time to fade them. You'll get their best effort here after the past couple weeks. They're getting roasted on WIP, their talk radio, for the whole week. And this is a game where, with the home crowd on Christmas and their defensive line, they could win this game on their own. DeVito will just be under constant pressure, sacked a bunch. You're not going to be able to just beat the Eagles by running it with Barkley. You have to be able to protect and then attack this secondary, which is extremely vulnerable. Giants are not capable of doing that. Throwing the crowd noise, this angry D-line, I cannot see the Giants winning this game. The more intriguing DeVito money line would be, and by the way, if the Giants win out, they have a 30% chance to make the playoffs. They'll beat the Eagles twice and the Rams. The more intriguing Giants money line is maybe when they host the Eagles in the second meeting. Eagles might not be playing for much. We'll see what happens with the division. I don't know, but with the crowd here, angry Eagles team and that D line could get ugly.
And we know how Eagles fans
come out
feel about
getting a lead with that D. It's gonna be a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Dom should dress as Santa. That's what they should do. Okay, let's move on to Thursday night. So now let's see if the positive, hot Stuckey continues as we shift gears to Thursday Night Football. Here's your market report for Rams and Saints, 2 7-7 teams. Speaking of the word Raybon used, desperate. Both of these teams in the hunt in the NFC. Total shifted from 44.5 to 46.5. Money coming in on Los Angeles, -4, and the bets are coming in on the over. About half the cash is on the under. Stuckey, I'll go to you first, hoping you continue your positive attitude. Any interest in touching this game, side or total?
Yeah, well, we've agreed on the show a lot, so I think maybe Raybon and I can disagree because he hates the Saints more than anything in the world. I kind of like the Saints here, catching 4.5. First of all, they have the better defense, and we're not talking enough about Yadam, who's come in there. Him and Adebo on the outside are playing really well in the absence of Lattimore. Monte Taylor's still a problem in the slot, which Cup could have a big day, but their defense, they had a better defense, and Carr's played better of late. The Rams D is just so bad. It's so void of talent outside of Donald and then like Ernest Jones. I like the rookie kid from Wake, Kobe Turner, but like the D is so bad. So Saints much better defense, offense is playing better, and then the Rams special teams is impoverished. It is it's so bad. We'll lose them games. That's like a factor that you have to consider too. Like Brave, I remember when we were going through their special teams on the preseason pod. Like they have like FCS guys starting. Oh my god. So they just don't, the roster just doesn't have depth too. So their special teams are really bad. But their special teams, just if you look from I assume if you go to DVOA, they're probably the worst by a wide margin. So I think the Rams probably win this game. There's a really high likelihood the Rams win this game by 3. So I like the Saints catching 4.5 here. I would really like it if Ramczyk and Olave played. It's Wednesday. We haven't seen reports, but it's a short week and they didn't practice yesterday, so I would assume no. But I think this will be a close game. I like the points.
And I did a little research and went back on Raybon's, action app, and the last two not consecutive weeks, but I think it was consecutive weeks, fading the Saints. Yeah. Giants +6 and Carolina +5.5. But I did, to be fair, went back even further. And it did work.
This is where we are. This is where we are, Stuck. We're here with Tim giving me
well, I mean, you started it with the sweater. So
you came at me, and I was going to give you.
This is an enemy conversation. Celtics.
End it there. Just end it there, Tim. I think you were about to get the season-long record.
I was about to give him 2 winners, fading the Saints, but you know what? I'm gonna just.
What have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately?
I'm in at this point. It's like when we do the 6-pack. It's like I just need my 1 hit. I'll let Stuckey win his 3 like he does every week, and that's what we're doing now. So fair.
I just checked Action Labs. Raybon is 0-2 against the spread in his last 2 fading.
Man. So Raybon, are you take the Rams -4?
No. This is I make this line 3. Maybe a little bit over 3 depending on who's out for the Saints, but no, this is not a spot to fade the Saints. I mean, this is like there's just a whole bunch of mediocre teams in this NFC, like the Packers, the Bucks, all the NFC South teams except the Panthers. So it's like when you're talking over a field goal here for the Rams. I don't see it, but I am. It's interesting that everyone's kind of betting up this total. First of all, it's Thursday night. We know what happens on Thursday night. I know it's indoors, but I mean, if you've seen, Stuckey alluded to it, if you've seen both of these kickers kick, I don't know if you could confidently put your harder money, especially around the holidays, on an over here. So that's all I'll say about that. Both of these kickers liable to miss multiple kicks in this game.
Yeah, and the Rams, by the way, they're just a team that you don't look to bet them. I know they covered last week because Paddleboat Ron didn't go for 2. But again, how many times is this guy not going to go for 2 when he's supposed to? But they're not a team you want to bet as a favorite. The Rams are an intriguing underdog. They'll probably be a really intriguing underdog in the the wild card weekend because they're all because the way Stafford is playing. And for what it's worth, the Saints also play a defense that matches up pretty well. You don't want to play zone against Stafford. So they'll play, I think, more man here, which they're capable of doing. But the Rams with that defense and special teams, it's just not a team that you want to look to have win by margin.
I laid the 4 about 10 days ago, I think, because Raybon brainwashed me into thinking the Saints.
I never told you you got ahead of yourself here. No, just
the Saints are good, but it's not like the Rams are like elite and
they're all mid.
I was figuring I was getting it a week ahead of time because I was figuring Rams would win big over Washington, and that the Saints would beat the Giants. And I thought that this was going to move off of 4, so I thought I was getting ahead of it. And again, maybe I should just talk a little less to Raybon about the New Orleans Saints, because I am all
no, don't blame me for that. Like this is not my fault, bro. You're laying more than a field goal in a Thursday night game between 2 mid NFC teams.
If Raybon doesn't like the other side of a Saints game, I know. I'm pretty confident I have a winner. I have a winner here.
Yeah, bro. Like,
just the way Stuckey said, even better. It feels like Tim is the new Darren Ravel. That's what I'm getting.
No, I'm the new Ravel. I'm the new.
Yeah.
According to my record, the last 2 Saints games.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, we'll let you guys go. The Sunday 6-pack follows our show. You can catch the guys coming up at 6 o'clock. Just refresh your YouTube URL, and you get the Sunday 6-pack with Stuckey and Raybon. Thanks, fellas.
Well, Clash, that was pretty good. Hearing for majority of the happy hour how the my Rams bet -4 is not a good pick. Still kind of time to buy out of it, I guess, between now and kickoff of that game from where the line is sitting at. But I don't know if I can do it. I got a decision to make here as we log off here.
Would you have any interest in buying back on if it got to 4.5 with all this public money? Maybe it's probably going to come down to 3.5, for being honest.
I don't want to get vigged out, with all the, juice there. So, I might just let it ride, and then it would be good content for the next time we talk to them. And, cause that's the thing about me. It's not about the betting, it's about good content, right?
Sure. Well, that's what our purposes are for sure. So Evan said this earlier, 7 standalone games this weekend. Do you have a rotation of sweaters that you'll wear over the weekend, or are you going to definitely wear that one more than once? Are you one of those people like, look, you're wearing it today and it's Wednesday. You could probably get away with wearing it again, but are you going to wear that on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day? Are you going to wear it Saturday on the 23rd? You have a lot to think about as it pertains to the wardrobe.
No issue. I probably won't wear it again. I have 3 rolling racks full of clothes in my room. I have no problem with clothes. I have a surplus of outfits, so I'm not worried about that. And plus, I just stay in my house all Christmas weekend and really Christmas Day. I don't do much, so no issue for me there, Clash. That's again, Raybon could go screw with his hate there. Make sure though you do download the free Action app so you can get updates, notifications on those guys' bets. See if Raybon at the last minute maybe jumps aboard the Rams train. Probably not, but also regardless, make sure you like and subscribe to Action Network's YouTube page so you can catch us again, catch Stuckey and Raybon doing the 6-pack and all great things here at Action Network. Have a wonderful Christmas, holidays, whatever it may be, a wonderful football viewing. Hopefully nobody bothers you as you're sweating out your bets. And a reminder that happy hour is presented by Bet365. For Brendan Glasheen and all our wonderful guests, I'm Tim Kalinowski. Have a happy holidays. I got to get out of here and go relax.